Today's updated NFL playoff picture with Week 18 finally here is made possible by Roan. 20% off when you use promo code CHATSPORTS at roan.com/chatsports on all their awesome gear, including the polo I am wearing today. All right, we have the Sunday Night Football matchup in, so the NFC playoff picture has changed. As promised, we'll break it all down and go through all the clinching scenarios with some updates from the video we did last night. So if you watched that one, it is still worth watching this one. No changes in the top six. Niners, Cowboys, Lions, Bucks, Eagles, Rams, all but the Bucks have secured at least a playoff spot. Only the 1 seed is actually locked in with San Francisco. That leaves Green Bay with the tiebreakers for now over Seattle and New Orleans as the 7 seed. The Vikings at 7-9 still alive, and Atlanta alive only through the NFC South. So in total, you have 3 teams fighting for the NFC South and multiple teams fighting for a wild card spot against Green Bay. Over in the AFC, there are 3 spots open for 5 teams. Jags, Houston, Indy, all alive in the AFC South. Those teams also alive for the 2 wild card spots, plus Buffalo and Pittsburgh. Baltimore and Cleveland, who play each other this weekend, are locked in to their respective seedings. Now, once we know the AFC playoff picture and the NFC playoff picture, we will do videos on those for you guys, the dates, the times, etc., the playoff matchup videos we will have for you. We will do the NFC. My guy Petey will handle that since I'll still be live on Cowboys after the 4:25 Eastern games wrap up. AFC I will do for you guys on Monday morning. Here is the NFL Week 18 schedule. That came out last night. I do want to run through it here briefly, then more in depth on the NFC and AFC, clinching scenarios, etc. Steelers at Ravens in a game that matters a lot more for Pittsburgh than it does Baltimore at 4:30 p.m. Saturday on ESPN. Followed up by a playoff, not elimination game, but a win-and-in scenario. Texans at Colts, 8:15. That winner clinches a playoff spot. That's 8:15 p.m. on Saturday on ESPN. Falcons at Saints, an elimination game, 1 p.m. Browns, Bengals, nothing to play for there. Jags win the AFC South with a win over Tennessee. Vikings at Lions, stuff to play for. Minnesota's still alive. Lions still alive for the number 2 seed potentially. Jets at Patriots, meaningless game. Bucks win the NFC South if they beat the Panthers as well. In the afternoon, evening slots, and this is where all the good games are. Packers, Bears, huge game for Green Bay. Cowboys, Commanders at the same time as Eagles, Giants, because Cowboys win the NFCs with a win or an Eagles loss. Broncos at Raiders actually does matter for tiebreakers not involving those 2 teams, strangely enough. Chiefs at Chargers, mostly meaningless. Rams at, in fact, it is meaningless, actually. Rams at Niners, there's some seeding stuff for LA there. Seattle trying to stay alive against the Cardinals, although we would pretty much know if they're fighting for anything or not in that time slot. And then the NFC or the AFC East Championship game, Bills at Dolphins. So will your favorite team make the playoffs this year? Y for yes, N for no. Go ahead and sound off for me with the pinned comment of today's video. If that ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. All right, NFC playoff picture. Let's focus in on the division leaders here. 1 spot open, it's Tampa. Quick note, San Francisco is the number 1 seed. Congratulations to the 49ers. To the Cowboys we go. Very simple scenario. They clinched the NFC East and the number 2 seed with a win over the Commanders. They are nearly 2-touchdown road favorites. It's a game that they should find a way to win. Now, the Lions have clinched at least the number 3 seed already. Here is their scenario for the number 2 seed. They beat the Vikings, the Cowboys lose, and the Eagles lose. So I think the Lions are going to try to beat the Vikings. That game will be done before those 2 teams play. But it will be the type of matchup in which they're not having a great chance of getting that number 2 seed. Now, like we mentioned, today's show is made possible by Roan. Let's be honest, the mail closet was due for a radical reinvention, and Roan has stepped up to that challenge. Their commuter collection is the most comfortable, breathable, and flexible set of products known to mankind, and here is why. There is a product for every occasion. Whether it's going out to drinks, driving work, at work, going out on the golf course, whatever, pants, dress shirts, quarter zips, polos, Rhone has something for you no matter what. They have 4-way stretch fabric, gives you breathability and flexibility. It leaves you free to enjoy whatever life ends up throwing your way. The Rhone Commuter Collection can get you through any workday and right into whatever comes next. Head to Rhone.com/chatsports and use promo code chatsports to save 20% off your entire order. That's 20% off your entire order when you go to RHONE.com/chatsports and use code chatsports. Find your corner office comfort by checking out the link and promo code in the comments section and the description of today's video. The Bucs did not take care of business against the Saints in Week 17. All they have to do is beat the Panthers, and they will clinch the NFC South with a win. I will make note there are some very bonkers tie scenarios. Unless I have to, I do not do tie scenarios because it never happens. Almost happened the one time Chargers Raiders, and still didn't happen, which we actually did discuss that scenario, but it's not going to happen. So win and in against the worst team in football for Tampa. Shouldn't be that hard. The Eagles are the 5 seed. The Rams are the 6 seed. Those two teams have clinched playoff spots. Seeding still up in the air. Then we'll get to the number 7 or maybe number 6 spot as well. The Eagles blew it against the Cardinals. They have really struggled down the stretch here. It's been a bad November, December run here for Philadelphia. At the Giants, go into the year with some positive momentum, the playoffs, I should say. They can still win the division. Need a win and a Cowboys collapse against the Commanders. Number 6, the Rams. They play at the 49ers. Their scenario is pretty straightforward here. They clinch the number 6 seed with a win over a Niners team with nothing to play for, or the Packers lose against the Bears. By the way, that would most likely put the Rams on the road with Matthew Stafford against the Detroit Lions. Wouldn't that be something? The 7 seed for now belongs to Green Bay. Their path was clear going into Sunday Football. Win their next 2 games and they're in. That is their scenario. They clinched the number 7 seed with a win over the Bears. The 6 seed with a win and a Rams loss to the 49ers. Now, there is a lose-out scenario that does still exist for Green Bay. It is as follows. The Vikings lose to the Detroit Lions, and the Seahawks lose to the Cardinals, and one of the following happens. The Bucs lose to Carolina, or the Saints lose to the Falcons. That sounds weird, I know. It's also a lot of losses that have to occur, and I don't think Seattle's going to lose to Arizona, but who knows? So I would probably lean towards more of a, hey, the Packers have to win to make the postseason. Let's look at the teams that are still alive but fighting and need help. The Seahawks. They get the 7th seed with a win and a Packers loss. There are no loss scenarios for Seattle. They get into the postseason by beating Arizona, and Green Bay loses to Chicago. The Bears are still fighting to win. They're going to be competitive because they're trying to save jobs. Going to be a good one. The Saints are the 9 seed. Now, they clinch the NFC South with a win and a Buccaneers loss. That is how they sneak on in from that perspective. Now, there is a wild card scenario here as well. If they beat the Falcons, the Packers lose, and the Seahawks lose, then the Saints get in. I don't know how likely that is, but either way, the Saints need help. And I think the NFC South is probably going to be your best bet at 1 loss versus 2 losses. So who wins the NFC South? I'm going Tampa. They're playing Carolina. As long as they don't choke, which honestly I might get Todd Bowles fired, by the way, if they do. Just take care of business. B for the Bucs, F for the Falcons, S for the Saints. Now that does leave 2 more teams in the hunt. The possibility of sub-500 teams making the playoffs exists. Here's how it happens. For the Vikings, they have a very unlikely shot of making the postseason this year. They need to beat the Lions. The Packers lose to the Bears. The Seahawks lose to the Cardinals. And again, one of the following. Saints lose to Atlanta, or the Bucs lose to the Falcons. Again, is that a likely scenario? No, I don't think so. I think you're staring down at maybe a 1% chance of that occurring from that perspective. Seems a bit unlikely for Minnesota to get in. Atlanta, not a typo, by the way. They are actually the number 12 seed behind the Bears, who they lost to head-to-head, but are still alive because they can win the NFC South. If they win and a Bucs loss. Again, I'm not sure that is a likely scenario. Those games will be going on concurrently to each other. Over to the AFC playoff picture. Again, we broke this down in depth. Nothing's really changed since last night, but we will go through it again because not everyone's going to watch the first video. So it's AFC Clinching scenario. It's in the headline. Got to deliver here. The Ravens are the 1 seed. They are locked in. They will play the Browns, who we won't spend any real time on either, in a meaningless game on Sunday. 1 versus the 5, which you could also see again in the divisional round potentially. Who do you think right now is the best team in the NFL? It's the Ravens, right? I've taken care of business against 2 great teams back-to-back weeks. Sound off who you think it is, though, in the comment section. The Dolphins, this is going to be a great Sunday night football game. They clinched the AFC East and the 2 seed by beating the Bills. If they lose, they would drop all the way down to the number 6 seed. Regardless of what the Browns do, win or lose, the Dolphins would drop to the 6th seed. So massive implications in that AFC South championship game. By the way, or AFC East championship game, excuse me. By the way, the Chiefs are locked into the 3 seed. We'll skip them. The Jags win and in. They win, they beat the Titans, they win the AFC South, or, I said I'd do ties if it mattered. If they tie and the Colts-Texans tie, the Jags get in. Stupid, I know. The wild card scenarios here. Jags tie and the Steelers lose or tie, they are in. Or, in the event of no Colts-Titans tie, Broncos lose to the Raiders. I know it's weird tiebreaker stuff, bear with me. And the Steelers lose to the Ravens. Jacksonville is in. Now, that Broncos-Raiders game would be in the afternoon window. Steelers game is before that. So we would pretty much know going into the 1 p.m. game for the Jags if they have any chance to make it with a loss, or if they have to sweat it out through the 4 p.m. games or 4:25 p.m. games. All right, back to the wild card race here. Again, Browns locked into the 5 seed. Chiefs locked into the 3 seed. Ravens locked into the 1 seed. The Bills are in a very unique spot where they can either win the division, get the 2 seed by beating Miami, or not make the playoffs at all. Here's how that happens. There are wild card scenarios for the 6th seed with a loss. Steelers lose to Baltimore, and Jacksonville loses to Tennessee. Seems a bit unlikely. Now, again, they will know those outcomes. Let me go to this one first, actually. The 7th seed, Steelers lose or Jacksonville loses. Now, what is important to note here is we're going to know going into Sunday Night Football whether or not it is the Bills have clinched a playoff spot already, or if they are fighting for their lives and it's either 2 seed or out of the playoff race. I can't ever recall, maybe it has, I can't ever recall that happening. So will the Bills make the playoffs this year? 1 for yes, 2 for no. If you want drama on Sunday Night Football, there you go. To the Colts now, the 7 seed. We'll go kind of back here with the Colts and Texans because they have the same stuff. Win and in. Saturday night is a playoff. It's a true playoff game, which I'm sure ESPN is thrilled about. Winner gets in the postseason. They get the AFC South if the Jags lose. Now, the wild card scenarios are as followed. Colts beat Texans. Bills lose to Miami. They end up getting the 6th seed. Otherwise, they fall to the 7th seed and stay in there because they've already clinched the playoff spot. Houston, same exact thing. Just flip beating the Texans to beating the Colts. Texans win against Indy. They are in. They win the AFC South with a Jags loss, and they get the 6th seed if the Bills also lose to the Miami Dolphins. So we shall see. It's going to be a fun one on Saturday night. It's a wild card play-in game, you know? All right, let's go now to the Steelers here. Here are their 6 seed scenarios. They win, Bills lose, and Jags lose to Tennessee. Seems unlikely. Now, they clinch a playoff spot, which would probably be the 7th seed with the following: a win, a Bills loss, or a Jags loss. Now, in the event the Bills lose And even if the Steelers do not win, there is a path. It requires these three things, though. It's a little bit more complicated. Colts and Texans don't tie. Raiders lose to Denver. I know it's tiebreaker stuff. It's weird. I know. And the Jags lose to Tennessee. I think the Steelers basically have to win on Saturday. Otherwise, they're going to be sweating things out for a lot of weird losing scenarios. But that is your NFL playoff picture. A lot of spots open for the final week of the season. Should be an awesome one.